let's go ahead and begin our meeting. So, our first on the agenda is the ELD ELA curriculum addendum.
Yeah, so I just wanted to start by thanking everybody for coming today to kind of hear about all the exciting things we have in our English language development program. And I want to introduce, I brought our 3 specialists with me today that really are have done a ton of work on the back end side and on the front side of this, and really are going to be the people that are explaining everything we've been working on. So would you guys each introduce yourself and how many years you've been in the department?
All right, so my name is Melissa Mullis. Hi, it's good to see everyone. This is my 23rd year working for the St. Joseph School District. In ELD department, probably, I think this is my 17th year in that department, and then I've also taught elementary, so.
Michelle Scholes. This is my 2nd year in the ELD department. I was here a couple of years ago and I'm back now.
I'm Cora Murphy, and this is my 18th year, I believe, in the English Language Development Program, formerly known as ESOL, and I've been 5 years working with the leadership team.
So you can see we have a lot of experience here and a lot of knowledge, and so I felt like I really wanted them to be the ones that could explain our vision and what we're doing moving forward. So the first thing on the agenda is the ELA curriculum addendum, so they can kind of all chime in, but I don't know if you'd like to start, Cora?
Sure. So the foundation for this development was the need to, number 1, improve our graduation rate at the high school level, and number 2, and maybe this is the foundation for improving our graduation rate, was to improve our accommodation process for students in the general education program. With that in mind, we took the WIDA Consortium ELD 2020 standards, which the state of Missouri has listed as our curriculum for students, but it is not just for our department, it is for all content areas. And so since we see students for a limited amount of time, we need that to trickle into the classroom instruction. With that in mind, we did begin with the English language
Arts.
Excuse me, I lost the A. I'm so used to the
We have
ELD, I lost the
ELA.
A. I'm not getting there.
And I do have just some printed, just to glance at it. There's not one for everybody, but just so you can get an idea if you want to share.
And so we did the 4 years of English language arts. We went through the first, second, and third level of English language proficiency because as a team we determined that by the time we're at level 4, our teachers are equipped to make those accommodations. They have the skill set to do graphic organizers and have in-depth conversations and front-load vocabulary more in-depth. But our level 1 students, which we had an influx of over 200 students last year that were new immigrants, need to have additional accommodations. So this outlines what WIDA says is appropriate, which is our state curriculum, and it ties directly into our learning intentions, otherwise known as our standards. So we worked with the priority standards and the support standards to merge the 2 items together so that staff can see what direction to take for our students.
So one of the things I will add, so at the high school level in their ELA class or ELL ELA class, we do level them according to we go by their language acquisition score, which through Access we get. So that's why you'll see on these, they are grade levels, but then also within it, level 1, level 2, level 3, and such.
So that will support those classes as well. So if our students happen to be in the mainstream general education population, then we can support at that level 3 if it happens to be a need that we're on the cusp of deciding, or if they're in that sheltered classroom, our staff now has a curriculum that they have been desperately pleading for support to tie things together so that they can move forward with those students.
Did you two have anything else you'd like to add?
This is just a way for us to be able to scaffold that learning. So students, our goal is to get them on grade level the same objectives that the other students are doing. This is just the way to get them there. So.
Do you have any questions for us on that? So these have been vetted through, so our specialists have spent the summer and actually started last spring writing these. Our lead teachers have also reviewed them. They will be presented also to our classroom teachers Stacia has had an opportunity to review them, and Lara. And so what we would like for is then a motion to add it to our curriculum as an addendum at the next board meeting. So, any questions? Okay, well, that was fast. So the next thing on the agenda, we have some quotes attached for, the district has some Read 180 licenses that they currently are utilizing. We, however, are wanting to add that's called 3D, and so I will send those around. Also, if you want to take a look at them, but I think the board members already have access to them. Would somebody like to explain the background on those?
So English 3D is designed by a specialist named Kate Kinsella, and she works through Read 180, and it is a vocabulary-rich curriculum for ELD students.
And so we are wanting to purchase that using our title funds to help support the new addendums for the students for our curriculum, and really all of our ELD students that would qualify for that resource.
When we reviewed this resource, we determined that the levels closely matched the addendum that we were working to create for our staff. And so it is also a leveled program and allows students to progress through the language acquisition process that they need to acquire English, but it also meets our content standards.
Yes. And it's reading and writing, so it's tied together. So it's not two separate entities, it's blending everything together. So.
We're also wanting to add the writable portion because that was an area on the access test that we've noticed that our students are not making as much growth as we would like for them to, so we needed a resource to help those students in that and the teachers. So the quotes that you'll see is for PD for 3D, English 3D, and writable, and the professional development for both.
I like the idea of the writable one. That's a better way to gauge what they're learning. Sometimes you can speak it, but to have to write it, I
Right.
like that.
And go ahead.
I'm sorry. We're bringing the writable down to the lower grade levels as well, so that we're providing those supports and that instruction, improving instruction to offset those scores as DLO described. But that's not just at the secondary level. That was going to begin in the later primary grades, later elementary grades. So grade 3, I believe, is where it begins.
Grade 3.
Yeah.
So what we, go ahead.
Is there a reoccurring charge?
Yes, that's for 1 year.
Okay. And then every year it will be the 14,000?
So the total is over 60,000 if you add everything up, but the PD would not be recurring, but all the licenses would, and we will be using our title funds, which we do get funded every year. It can vary and change, but right now we want to use our EL title funds to purchase that.
And some of the printed materials don't have to be replaced either, like the teachers' materials we'd be able to use from year to year.
So it'll be less moving forward, and then one of the things we did look at was looking at more just Read 180 licenses, but currently the general population has some access to that. So that's something that we hope to add on to because it could also benefit our students moving forward if we see the positives with everyone else.
It's a nice integration to already what's being done in intervention work at the middle level right now. We are leading a pilot program, so in the study of data, looking at data historically, one of the pieces that I feel that we noticed a drop in reading scores at the 4th grade. And so we're going to lead a pilot this year in 2 schools and not place just this intervention at 7th and 8th grade. At that particular point, it's easier to catch up a grade level if it's 1 grade level below. At 8th grade, we have some students sitting in there with 3 or 4 grade levels below. And at that point, it becomes a defeating piece for a child when you sit next to them. And we feel that the 4th grade level would be much more of a benefit to our kids in moving their skills and literacy.
just to catch them before middle school.
That's right.
Encourage growth.
Right.
So the ones that are already past that point after the pilot, will they have access to the curriculum though?
Well, our hope is that intervention isn't a pipeline. We've noticed that intervention in our district has just been, kids stay in intervention for a long time. But we hope is that you get into this intervention, we get you the skills and strategies necessary to be successful, and you don't stay, and you're out. And ensuring that high-quality Tier 1 instruction in the ELA world is so important as well. So we're working on both pieces at the same time, the Tier 1 and that intervention right there at 4th grade.
It's encouraging for the student
Yes.
to think that I can get out of this
Yes.
by applying myself and getting it. Because as they get older, there's a stigma
There it
in their
is.
thinking that I'm in this program.
Right.
And it just is discouraging.
Yeah. I'm excited. On August 18th, Ellen Keene will be here, and she speaks to the intervention pipeline. And I want to share that with the teachers is that if a child's in intervention for 16 weeks, it's not the child's problem, it's our problem.
Do you guys have any questions regarding the 3D curriculum resource or Writable?
So you're asking to get a recommendation from the committee to go?
Yes,
to the
so I guess
board?
this is our first time doing it this way, so if you guys have guidance on that. It was kind of when Dr. McGinnis and I were speaking, we wondered, because this could take quite a while in a board meeting, that if we were basically shared with you first what we would be bringing, and then is it a recommendation from you all, or can put it on the consent agenda. That's some stuff that we're trying to figure out right now, like how we want to move forward for the board meeting.
It was my understanding from our training that we had in May or June that the purpose of the committees was really to bring these kinds of things here for approval, to not take as much time during the actual board meeting, so.
But yet we know we don't vote here, so.
Right, but we carry the recommendation.
Right.
Yeah. And of course,
It was
DLO.
I'll be there, and I have invited them to also join us if there were questions or things.
I think that was my
Yeah.
understanding as well, in order to get a recommendation to give
To
to the
streamline.
board in order to streamline everything, so.
Are
It's how
there-
come I was asking, maybe should we formally approve a recommendation
Yeah.
on these items in order to be able to give?
Yeah, I'd like that.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, so this looks great, and it's paid for with title funds, or can be paid for with title funds, and that's the goal. So it's a win-win for the students and the district, and you guys are obviously willing to teach it and understand it. Was there any other curriculums looked at besides this?
Yes.
I figured, but, okay. And this one came out above the rest?
Most definitely. Does one of you guys
And
want
it
to speak on
integrates
that?
what the district's already doing, like with Read 180, so it's like a tie-on to that. So.
So we have used in the past another program called Imagine Learning, and we've had various, what we have found with our staff is if we throw too many things, different things, too many professional development opportunities, it's overwhelming, and so our goal has been to streamline what we're already doing in the district, and so Read 180 is something that we're already doing, and so these are just add-on platforms that they have. So we felt that it made sense to stick with kind of streamlining, just like we do with iReady or Alexia and some of the other programs that we have. We did look at some other ones. The ladies did go to a conference also and was able to talk to the writer of this and really felt like it met our needs.
Well, and once we wrote the 3D, or
The
the
addendum.
curriculum addendums, yeah, the 3D matched very well into that. And so we felt like, again, that would be something that would be what the teachers have been asking for, be easy for them to use with the ELD students. So we were looking for something that kind of integrated within the curriculum of what St. Joe already had.
That's a good question. So, is this our committee?
Yes, it's looking
It
good.
is, right?
Yeah.
Committee, do you have a recommendation? Or because you've been here? you like? What do you
Sure,
think?
then we
Yeah.
move forward, adopt this proposal.
How do you feel about that, Reva? Are you okay with giving the recommendation to the board?
If you have looked at, other options and this seems to be the best fit, then I think.
Yes, many of the other options don't have supportive teacher resources as well. I mean, we have evaluated the Imagine Learning, we've evaluated, there was a National Geographic program that we had an opportunity to look at in another district. So this had the most components, the most supportive instructional model that also tied into our standards and our content instruction.
So how does this cover the professional development as well?
Yes. So we budget our title money every year. We have to present a plan that gets approved. So in that, we budgeted enough to cover that this year.
Is there also a recommendation on the curriculum addendum too as well then?
Definitely, yes.
Okay, the last thing, are we ready to move on to the last thing on the agenda? Okay, so the last thing on the agenda is our LAU plan. Last year, you remember that we brought to you an updated LAU plan that hadn't been updated in quite a few years. So every year, we do want to always review that and make adjustments as needed. So who would like to speak on the LAU plan?
I'll do.
Okay.
So as she said, every year, it's our duty to update the LAU plan. The federal government puts out extensive rules and things that they would like us to follow as we write the plan. And so I go through that, I make the updates, we make sure that it tells how we're, measuring student growth. They like to have all of the legal things in there, your board policies about educating EL students. So all that stuff is included. I think the first LAU plan I saw for this district was like 6 pages. That's about how much they required for several years. So this one you will see is considerably longer, and that is just to meet all of the requirements of what they're asking us to include, because they do want us to include, how we reclassify students, how do students exit. They want to make sure that we're following, the Missouri guidelines and the U.S. guidelines for that. So that is all included in there. And then there's a checklist at the end, and that's just something that we go through to see, if we're meeting those criteria each year, and we make adjustments as we go.
And it's my understanding, having been away just a few weeks with my family, that the adjustments we made were technical language. It was the English language development terminology that's changed from ESOL, in addition to, there was a small piece in there that was altered as well. Do you want to speak to that?
Job description.
Job description,
Yeah.
because our job titles have changed.
Yes.
But other than that, most of this stays.
Most of it stays the same. There's statistics, there's things like that change, data changes. Occasionally, the state changes a chart or something like that, so we updated those. But for the most part, it stays fairly the same.
And we reviewed and updated in '22 the board policies also, and they do not need to be updated this year. So they've all stayed the same. Any questions on the LAU plan? And this is also posted on our website, so the community knows and our families know exactly how our program runs, how we identify our students, how all the legal requirements for our students and our families, and how we approach those.
Is this also required as an action item or just informational?
I believe last year it was an action item, but I can double check. I haven't added them to the board meeting yet. I think I have till next Friday, so I want to get through this meeting first. And so I can look and see how it was last year. I believe we had it as an action item to adopt this plan. We also had policy at the same time.
And you mentioned that the only changes We're
It's just wording.
It was wording, so,
titles.
titles, so
Yeah.
basically, this year, we revamped our structure, which we're happy to talk about, of how we are meeting the needs of our students and staff. And so we now have 3 specialists. It used to be, we had an assessor and a specialist, and so now we have 3 specialists. These 3 ladies sitting right here, and they will all take on some of the responsibility they all have as assessor. Obviously, everybody has specialty areas, and so of knowledge, and but we're trying to cross-train and make sure everybody learns those different roles. And we divided out, we followed Stacia's lead initially on the zones of town, basically, for support, like she initially had for our coaches, our instructional leads there. And so now we're doing the same thing. We have South End, Midtown, and North End zoned out with a lead teacher underneath each one of them that will help support all of our staff and the buildings, their needs from an instructional lens, and be able to look at data regularly and really hone in on being able to track our students and see where they're at and what needs are there. But really needing to train up our teachers, because we've hired, like this year we hired 9 new teachers in our department, which, as you guys know, because we are working on trying to get them certified also, they're going to need a lot of support. So all of our, we want to be able to provide that support for our teachers, and by doing this, we felt that with all this experience, we would be able to help provide that support. So this year, we have an additional specialist. We have the 3 lead teachers that will carry a half a caseload, and then the other half of their time will be out supporting other teachers too. And then our staffing, we are still trying to get to the ratio that would be appropriate, teacher to student.
I'd like that to be presented, what
Okay.
you just talked about
Okay.
at the board meeting. It just kind of helps give a visual to the expansion of that.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, I know that it probably did get lost, and we approved it last year, and then we hired, and yeah, so a little overview. I'd be happy to do that.
If I may, I'd like to go back to the idea, you said in this main LAO program document, the main thing you did was adjust the verbiage to address the current EDL instead of ESOL. So does that mean there shouldn't be any reference to ESL in this whole document?
Oh, there still can be.
Okay,
We call
'cause I
our
see a little, and I just wondered.
Yeah, we call our, and we could have
Yes.
missed a few too, but yes, ESOL is still a term that is used. DESE went at the state, they now name their department English Language Development. So we went ahead last year and switched over to English Language Development. That has proven to be a little bit of a challenge because we felt that it was the right thing to do when we saw some other school districts also doing that. Springfield has their department called English Language Development. Obviously, DESE does, but it does add another acronym and more confusion.
Yes.
But yes, ESOL is still a term. We just name our department is named ELD.
Yes, as is ELL. So if something is quoted, like a lot of the legal background information, the checklist at the end, you will see the terms ELL, EL, ESL, ESOL. They like to change the term a lot. I know.
Yes,
Right?
and because we have to follow not only the state requirements, but also federal, depending on, that language is going to be interchangeable for that. But up at the top, you'll see the definitions.
Thank you.
Trying to get down to the bottom. Any other questions?
Not gonna lie, when I was looking at the agenda, I was like, how do you get a whole plan named after you?
There's a lawsuit. There's a lawsuit.
It's a
That's how you
lawsuit,
get it.
yes, yeah.
That'd be special.
So it comes from a case.
Loudly
of
Nichols was a
yes.
case in California where students were not having equitable services because they were language learners, so that's where that claim comes from.
Just a great place to put out.
Yeah.
Oh, you were referring to.
Yes, that's a
I
coincidence.
didn't catch that.
The other thing that was approved, which may be just a reminder for you guys, was that we were able to add that additional day for professional development for our teachers, and so they will be coming back on the 14th for additional professional development and the case management extra duty pay for their case management duties. So the same as special education.
I'm sure that this is very comprehensive and perfect the way that it is, and I have no problems with it. But in the future, if the committee is going to be asked to vote on something, it would be nice if we could get it in advance to review. That way we could kind of feel more secure, I would think, in our recommendations going
So
forward.
you guys did not get it then?
No, I received it. I know I got the whole.
Okay, because Donna Baker had that
And
too.
I may just
sent
not
out.
have because I'm a community member on the
Oh,
committee.
okay.
So that
Yeah, I
could
don't
be
know
it.
who she
No.
sent it to, but I did.
These ladies
I-
are also community
Yeah, we're
members.
I'm a
Oh,
community
okay.
member as well.
So,
So we
Okay.
probably
We
need
may
to
just
check
not
with
have
Donna
your-
Baker to
yeah.
see if she has your correct email.
Okay. I
Yes.
did. I received an email last night saying that she had accidentally put it on the calendar for the first
So you have
Tuesday
my
instead of the
email,
second
yeah.
Tuesday, and so she changed that. But I didn't see that come through, unless it got,
It was on
sometimes things
previous
get
email.
filtered
Yeah,
out.
it would have been about a week ago. Yeah.
Okay.
When you guys received it.
I'll double check.
But yeah, you should have it.
Then I take back what I said.
Yes, no, you should definitely have it. I completely agree. Everybody should.
Donna's
That's
very good about getting it out in a timely manner, so
Yes.
either you missed it or she
Yeah.
just missed your
Oh,
email
yeah.
or something.
Are there any other questions about the department or the things we brought here? Because we've got these ladies here that could pretty much answer anything.
It's just a shame that we need all of this to teach reading.
Well, these are our students who are new to the country, that this is the emphasis for the instruction, our level 1, 2, and 3. So English proficiency is leveled by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1 being those students that are not yet saying anything, they're not conversational, they may be able to say my name is, and that's the extent at that time, they're timid, their language is not, it's more that receptive vocabulary that they're starting to acquire by observation. And so sitting in a classroom for 7.5 hours a day, even if you're rotating through classes, is daunting and exhausting, and it's not just linguistically challenging, but it's mentally and emotionally hard. And so that's where we have guidelines from WIDA that the state has adopted to provide that accommodation to reduce our language instruction within general education to provide students the comprehensible input. If they can't understand what they're doing, they can't come back and participate. And so that's why we're taking this movement forward. And we are all newer to this role. And when we came on board, we're like, where's our curriculum? Where are these pieces that we need? And we had heard and we knew that they had existed. In fact, this entire table, for the most part, is new in this. But we were unable to identify those pieces. And so we really just want to create that foundation for these students with resources that help them acquire their goals and to become proficient and to become a participant in the classroom. That's the goal, is that they're participating and acquiring the same education as their peers at the level they're able to achieve. So I described the level 1, level 2 is now conversational. They can say how my name is, they can say I went to the grocery store, they can say these pieces, but they might not be able to define what they purchased at the grocery store yet. They might not be able to do anything more than hear and understand, because there's a visual in math at that point. Because they had math instruction, they understand the concept of math, they just don't understand the language of math in our country, right? So they need all of those pieces blended together, and again, that's where level 2 scaffolds come from. And then level 3, those students are the students that confuse a lot of teachers because they're now socially speaking, right? They're able to converse, they're able to talk about their events and going to the movies or the video games they're playing. It sounds proficient.
On their phones.
Their grammar might be off, but hey, we can fix grammar, we can talk to that, right? All of us know how to say, you need to say that this way, or whatever. And so it's confusing, but their vocabulary is vastly limited, particularly when we're in that secondary realm, when we're talking about things preparing for college, right? Chemistry terms and biology terms and Krebs cycle and things that maybe many of us haven't studied for several decades at this point, right? So these students, again, still need that front-loaded vocabulary. They need to have reduced vocabulary to focus on those words and those targets those priority standards and learning intentions that are the greatest focus at the state level so that they're prepared for their EOCs and things of that nature. So that was the foundation of our decision to move forward with aligning what WIDA has already said exists in each of these content areas, but our staff didn't have access to in a way that was comprehensible for them. So our intention is to move forward with other content areas, but we can only run as fast as we can run, so we began with what
They've
we're
been
most familiar
running
with.
really fast. So yeah, so our goal was to get ELA done to start school. And then they're going to continue to work on other subject areas so that we can do the same thing, so that we have that resource available. So
The way you put that was wonderful, and that's also something presentable, because a lot of times it's like the playground equipment. We get it, the playground equipment is important for littles, but not everybody wants to spend a couple $100,000 on playground equipment if they don't understand the purpose.
right.
So that was well said, and I don't know, I just think that makes it better, it's more edible that way.
Well, it's
So-
recorded, so they can play it back at the board
Yes.
meeting.
Yeah, because it's just valuable. It helps us as community members get a grip of what we're paying for, or, I know it's title funds or whatever, but to appreciate the methodology in what you're presenting. And it has to start in the minutia to be able to grow where they get it. And it becomes a normal way of life. And it helps our grads to graduate students who can communicate in the world, not just in the classroom.
So another thing that, and I'll just remind everyone from before, so the newcomer curriculum that was implemented last year. So our goal as the department has been to ensure that we have appropriate resources and curriculum for all of our ELD students, going from kindergarten through 12th grade. So some consistency, so we have some consistent resources at elementary, middle, and high, along with building up our curriculum for each of those grade levels and levels. So that you've probably noticed from this, a building, like we had to start, and so we're just want to ensure consistency across our entire district and then continue to build on top of that to where we're not done, we're just getting going, so.
But that's our term, is scaffolding.
Yes. Yes. Are there any other questions or anything that you would like us to clarify?
You mentioned sheltered classroom. What is that?
Yeah, absolutely. A sheltered classroom is where students are receiving the content instruction with language supports from an English language development teacher. So our teachers are dual certified at the secondary level in ELA and ELD, and that's where their sheltered class comes from. So then they have the content instruction, but at the level they need.
So, for example, in order to get a credit, so that's where it gets tricky. So our teachers in our department need to have their certification to teach English language learners. Okay, so that's the certification, TESOL, that they're working on, that we're helping as a district reimburse for as we're hiring people. Okay, so we have that certification that takes a couple years to get. Then at the high school level, in order for them to be in a sheltered course or direct instruction, which we use that term kind of interchangeably, but typically it's sheltered, those are all ELL students, okay? They would need to have a dual certified teacher. So if we were going to put them in a biology class, and only in a sheltered biology class, for example, that teacher would need to be certified in both biology and ELL. Okay, we don't currently have that, except for our goal has been, as we're trying to build that, we have ELA teachers that are dual certified. So we have sheltered courses for ELA, but we currently do not in our other subject areas, and our goal is to eventually have in our EOC courses to start, and that's where we put our co-teachers. So we will have a certified teacher in that content, So I'll use biology as the example. We have a biology teacher, and we will co-teach with one of our teachers in there to help get that support for those students. But we cannot have a sheltered course because we don't have someone dual certified. In order to earn that credit, they have to be certified in that content. We also offer study skills to help support our students at all levels, but high school, they have time for that, and then some credit recovery is what we're working towards. And then newcomer, what else am I forgetting? We've got our newcomer courses also at high school.
There were
Big ones.
some foundation courses
Mhm.
that the state recommends, but we don't currently have
We don't-
staffing
yeah.
for.
So right now, we're in the process of looking at what the state has recommendations of course offerings, what we currently can offer with our current staff, and what we hope to offer moving forward as we get there.
And that's good, it's planning.
Yes.
It's a process, always.
The only other thing I'll go ahead and add, just because we have some time, is do you want to mention, Michelle, on the training you guys went to this summer for the family involvement? Because I think that's a piece that, just kind of quick overview of what that is.
Yes, I would love to do that. So this summer, we had the opportunity to go to the Family Leadership Institute. It's something that I worked with when I was a professor as well at Grandview University. So Family Leadership Institute is Consuelo Kickbush. And basically what the Family Leadership Institute does is it trains parents while also helping them with their trauma, building their leadership skills, and all of this is helping them understand the education system in the U.S. And being able to be involved in schools, which is something that we very much want. It's 10 modules, which you can do in a variety of different ways depending on how you want to implement it. And so that's something that we're also working towards doing very soon as well, is starting to get those family groups and have trainings with them. And the goal would be to get our families more involved in school. And we've even discussed how we can get certain focus groups in of different family groups to discuss what their needs are, what the problems are. For example, why are we having attendance problems potentially with that group? Why is there a graduation issue? What can we do to help you with those issues to find solutions? So just looking to really bump that family involvement up. But the first thing you have to do is help them understand why we have family involvement and why we need that, and that we really want to work with them and build that trust. And so Family Leadership Institute does that.
So all three of them were trained this summer.
Yes.
And so that was just an area that with our, we have added family advocates also in our office. So the family advocates come in, we have 7, a couple are part-time, but we have Spanish and Chuukese speakers in-house, 2 Chuukese, the rest are Spanish. And so trying to increase that family involvement, that family advocacy for their students, that bridge between school and home. So we do make quite a few phone calls home, but also from teachers, they can call in, we can schedule meetings. Enrollment is happening right now in the Enrollment Center. We've had a stream of families coming in for that too, which is great. And then we have our, if you guys remember the language line, that if they're not available or we need other languages, we can also utilize that way. So as we're bumping up our efforts constantly to try to help our families be involved, because we believe the more the families are involved, the more engaged the children will be also, and it'll just be a wonderful domino effect, hopefully.
Yes, there'll be more than us trained. We'll
Yeah.
hopefully have those family advocates trained as well, so they can help us with interpretation, so we can present a lot of the information in their language so that they're understanding and able to ask all the questions, have all the conversations that they would like to have.
Yeah, it's exciting. Do any of you guys, I guess, have any, does anybody else have any questions?
About how many students are English second language in the district? How many?
Fluctuates.
Yes.
Do you want to pull up
If I pulled up Elevation right now, which is our program, it says there are 796 students. But
Receiving
that's not
services.
all of them, because our preschool students who we're watching are going to be coming into kindergarten, and that's about 76 more. So that's putting us in the 800s. And then if you count the students who are now on monitor that we're watching for a year to make sure they're still being successful, they've exited because of a test score, because we've been able to portfolio monitor them, then if we add those, we're up to about 1,200 students who are ELD.
And that does not include our preschool students. So we, in the state of Missouri, we do not identify until kindergarten.
Oh, and there's 108 new students who are enrolled on our spreadsheet that we still need to test to see if they really qualify for programming, or make phone calls to see if really there's another language spoken in the home, or if parents have accidentally marked that, but there's 108 already in enrollment that we need to follow up with.
And there'll be a lot more.
Our students,
We're still
There'll be a lot more.
It's still early.
our students traditionally enroll up through the early part of October. It's school, they're coming back from other countries if they've left the country or moving from another state. They just don't follow the typical trends of our native speakers and get enrolled on day one or prior to,
So although we were very pleased with the number of teachers we were able to hire, we know that we are still behind due to the fact that our numbers are trending higher all the time, and the needs of the students that we're receiving are higher than they used to be. We're receiving our newcomers, our numbers are higher, our immigrant and our migrant population, all of those numbers are increasing.
our dual programming as well. Students are coming from other countries with far greater medical needs and academic needs in the special education categories. We call that dual programming because they're our student, but they're also shared with special education. So that's been a process we've been working through.
Yeah, that's been a huge process, which we've been working on in special education with the identification and making sure that we're testing appropriately, that we have the appropriate individuals that can perform the tests, and then even hiring our additional school psychologist that has a background in this field, working with our English language learners and things like that. So we are seeing quite a few more students with high needs.
We've also, thanks to COVID, just like everyone else says that, we've have a lot more students who have had that gap in education, where they didn't go to school for a few years and now they're coming in to high school and they haven't been in school since 6th grade, things like that. So we're having a greater influx of that.
So you might, have a student, and they tend to be older, so we might have a student come in that is in high school that maybe has missed 4, 5, 6 years of school. So we don't put them back in elementary school, they're still high school, so we go by age. Although we do have opportunities with an alternate graduation plan and things like that to try to support. So that's the other reason why we have to ensure that we have the resources available, because we have to be able to teach multiple levels at different ages. So the term for that is SLIFE, so students with limited interrupted formal education.
Formal education, yeah.
So if you see that in the LAU plan.
Another acronym, right?
Yes, exactly. That's why the top part has all the definitions. That was probably more information you guys wanted, but we want to take the opportunity to share with you also that you understand kind of where
It's
we're
very helpful for us on the outside, is not really being in the flow of the school anymore, to know what's happening, so thank you.
Well, there's 31 languages spoken in our district, so that also lets you know,
And
like, we've
changes
grown
day
a
to
lot.
day.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
So 31 languages, 10% of our students. And it's almost like we just need to teach English. Like if I went to France, I would take a French class before I tried. But we are implementing this in all of the classrooms
Right.
that they're in.
So we do not have currently, we've toyed around and talked about, wouldn't it be great to have like a newcomer center at some point where we could have, like, say, you went there first and it was intensive English, and then you went out, that would take a major shift not that we're not up for it, but with a major shift, and we need staffing to be able to pull staffing aside to do that. So there are different models out there, and as our needs continue to increase, we'll have to continue to look at different options out there. But you are correct that it is a challenge when a student is immersed right away into, but they do get varying levels of support and services from our teachers. So obviously a newcomer is going to receive more support than someone that has been in the program for long term and hasn't exited out yet.
And every building has an ELD teacher that's going to be meeting with those students and teaching English, so.
Yeah, they do concentrate on English, our ELD teachers.
It makes me tired.
We felt that way too.
Yeah, I can't thank these ladies enough. They have just continued, and we know, I think you caught Michelle worked for us before, so if you might have remembered her with when she presented on the newcomer curriculum. So it's like she came right back, so I sometimes forget that she was gone a year, but these three ladies have just worked and worked and worked. They're very knowledgeable, and I know that I can always trust them in their knowledge and digging in, and we have great conversations when we meet. We try to meet weekly, sometimes it's every other week, to make sure that we're staying on track and moving forward with the department.
It's inspiring about the possibilities. Yeah, it really is. It's exciting. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you for your support. We appreciate it.
Any other questions? Any other action that we need to take? I think we've done it.
Yeah, I think we're good. I will just make sure I put them in the right spot, and then I'll wait for you all to make a motion.
I like that part of the end goal is to have a separate facility when they come in. That's a good long-range plan. That's great. But if there's no more, I think we can go, we can finish. Now, is there another one? We have another meeting?
It's a two.
Thank you.
Well, I thought